Everyone, Adam Schwarz here, and if you're thinking about buying a house, you're probably going to be budgeting for your down payment and a few other expenses, but you haven't thought of all the extra closing costs. Nearly 91% of buyers run into at least one unexpected fee during closing, according to a last report from Zillow. Today, I'm going to break down the most common surprise fees that you're not prepared for, and we want to make sure that before you walk into that closing table, you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, so let's dive into it. First is going to be your loan originating fee. This one caught a lot of buyers off guard. About 67% of buyers didn't see this one coming. This fee covers the lender doing its job to get your loan processed. This range can anywhere between 0.5% to 1%. So you just want to make sure that you speak to your lender up front before you even start the process on how much it's going to be out the door. A lot of problems I see when it comes to lender fees is that when you work with certain banks, they cut their lower fees lower, especially like escrow fees and things like that. And so when you get to the closing table, your cash out of pocket to close is a lot higher. So it's really important to work with someone on the lending side that gives you all the numbers up front. You should know pretty close on what your cash out of pocket will be when you close on a property. Next up is going to be your appraisal costs. Most buyers, about 54%, did not expect this fee out of pocket. It can range anywhere between $300 to $500. Just so you know, there are plenty of lenders that will cover this cost for you. So that might be something you want to ask for when you're speaking to your lender. Hey, will you cover my appraisal costs? Some will, some won't. The next fee we're going to talk about is your title transfer tax fees. 54% of buyers didn't see this one coming. This is the basic tax for transferring the property from the seller to you. And so you just got to be prepared for this unknown cost when getting into the property. Your title insurance, 51% of buyers didn't expect to pay for this fee. I will say that it's unusual for a buyer to pay for this fee, but it can happen when you're in the more competitive markets. But if you're in a normal market, most of the time, the seller will cover this cost. So you just have to make sure that when your agent is writing the offer, they plan on putting that fee onto the seller. The last thing you got to say is higher than expected closing costs is that a lot of people don't realize that 40% of buyers did not realize that their closing costs are anywhere between 2 to 5% when purchasing a property. So the biggest thing you need to be prepared for is when you go to sit down with a lender and an agent, you have to know all the fees that you're going to have to pay for when going into a property. To be honest, you should know these fees about less than a week into the property and not wait until the end. Like I said, I see a lot of closing statements or fees from loan officers, and what they'll do is they'll underestimate your taxes, they'll underestimate your insurance for their property, and they'll underestimate their closing costs. And what will happen is they'll wait until the end, because those are all like basic numbers. They're not basing it off their purchase price. They're just doing general numbers there. And then buyers will get to the closing table and you'll sign what's called a CD. That's your closing disclosure. You'll sign that 3 days before the close of escrow. That's where you'll see all the fees at. And a lot of buyers get taken off guard. And why do lenders do this? The reason they do these things is because now you're 3 days before closing. You've removed all your contingencies. You can't back out the deal. And so what do? You're stuck paying these fees. So when you talk about working with an agent, I tell this to people all the time. When you work with a top agent, one of the things the top agent brings to the table is to let you work with a loan officer that they trust and know that they're going to treat you good care of you. The reason why they treat good care of clients that I work with and my clients, because they want more business from me. So they're not going to want to do those things to my clients, like add fees at the last second that they're not expecting, because then what happens? I helped you get connected with my lender. They're upset. My buyer's upset. Then my buyer's upset with me. And it's not good for business. So it's really important when you work with an agent, ask them who their lender is, because I bet you this, they've worked with that lender a lot. That lender wants to make sure their client's happy, because more happy clients means more referrals, means more money. So definitely something you got to think about when purchasing a home. But the best way to solve this problem is work with a trusted agent that knows the lender they're working with. And so these problems will not surprise you when you get to the closing table.